That is some amazing energy, and thank you all for being here. So welcome to OG Warriors. Oh, yes, a big old school wisdom for the next generation of change makers. And I recently heard Congresswoman Anna Eshoo say that women are the centurions at the gates of democracy.
Wow.
Yes.
Right? That's why we're here. And as my grandmother used to say, somos los arquitectos de nuestro propio destino. We are the architects of our own destiny. And that's why we're here. As you saw, beacons of resilience, wisdom, and yielding commitment to women's rights, a lifetime of civic engagement and activism. This is who we are. Of course, this did not happen overnight. We on this stage, Desi, Olga, Noreen, we've been working together on these issues of social justice, equity, opening doors to opportunity for a long time. And we are also very strategic, and we also keep in touch with one another.
Yes.
Now, what does it mean to have lived a life that is civically and actively engaged? We all have a story, an ongoing story. And today, we also want to hear your story and have it be part of our story. A little bit about myself and my activism has been, when I was president of the California Commission on the Status of Women, you asked the question of which other women need to be in this room? And I was looking like, who's missing? Where are rural women? You know, a lot of times it's the big cities that get the attention. So we have to be mindful of who else needs to be there. As a public servant, I've worked with some incredible people, including Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis. We were like the Thelma and Louise going to 58 counties. And someone said, oh, you know, are you going over a cliff? And we said, Eleni said, no, we're going to crash through a glass ceiling. And she did by being the first woman elected Lieutenant Governor of the great state of California. And so when it comes to also my public service, I look for always opportunities, because now as an appointee of President Biden, Vice President Harris at the Small Business Administration, I also like to focus on the boards and commissions, different leadership positions at the local, at the state level, and recruit people to say, have you thought of doing this? Then why not? And this is what it takes, and you're not alone, because there are some of us who've come before who can be helpful. So we always have that mindset. And when I was at the Women's Foundation, we started the Policy Institute, the Beatriz Solis Policy Institute, who worked at the California Endowment, believed in social justice. We started the Policy Institute that has passed many pieces of legislation, including the healthy nail salons. Women are working in those toxic places. How do we make it safe? Including making sure that there was information and access to reproductive services in college campuses, because we need to take care of everybody. Then I also belong to an organization called HOPE, which is Hispanas Organized for Political Equality, and it's a Latina leadership organization. But I'm also a founding member of their binational cohort, because not only is HOPE started as a networking organization and is now also doing a lot of policy, we thought, well, as Latinas get elected to higher positions, we started this binational program to make sure that they know about issues of international trade, foreign policy, nuclear disarmament, because when women get elected, not only will they have the opportunity to know the players, but they can ask for a seat in those commissions and they can fill those, or those committees in Congress, or whatever the entity is. So this is just a little bit about what keeps us going, and we're in this wonderful cohort here. The fact is, we all know this is not a sprint. It is a long marathon.
Absolutely.
Right? And many people don't want women to have a seat at the table. We think, oh, we fought so hard. Maybe we're farther along. But we, as women who've been involved, are always watchful of what's going on. Where do we need to shore up our resources? Because there's always a group of people who want to take our rights, who do not want us to be full architects of our own destiny. And we are here today, and we're going to hear these great stories and the great work that is being done, because it has been such a pleasure to be in the struggle and la lucha with these amazing women, and to hear the work that all of us are doing in this sphere and how we bring all of you so that we move forward. And we're going to start with Noreen Farrell. Noreen, can you talk to us about the landscape of why we are not done yet? You do such great work at Equal Rights Advocates.
Well, first let me say it is so exciting to be here. Who doesn't want to start the day like without a DJ? I'm never going to do it again. And I can't talk about the landscape without just honoring my co-panelists here. Another huge round of applause. They are truly the sheroes of the movement. And I think the landscape can be summed up by the Mexican proverb, they tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. And when my organization was founded 50 years ago, and we know that from incredible adversity and oppression comes genius and innovation. In the past, I'm going to start with the happy facts. In the past 10 years, we've passed 50 new women's equality and economic security laws in this state alone in the past 10 years. We've passed 150 stronger pay equity laws in states across the country in the past 10 years, at a time when Congress has not passed one. And when we think about how we started 50 years ago, women couldn't even get credit unless their husband gave them permission. They were excluded from entire industries, right? And from this, my organization and so much great social justice work was born. We had the passage of Title IX, so for the young people who are in the room, that's the law that has the radical thought of prohibiting sex discrimination and harassment and assault in your schools, right? Wow, that's a thought. There was a law passed that allowed us to actually have a credit card, wow. And then Billie Jean King whooped the pants off of a man before 90 million people in live television. And so it was this cultural zeitgeist and legal moment that really propelled a lot of work. But we don't stay positive unless we keep it real. And when we think about the challenges right now, I think that COVID exposed in devastating clarity the unfinished business of this movement, right? Women being assumed to be the child caregivers, being forced out by millions from the workplace, threatening to unravel 50 years of progress, still fighting for paid family leave that's job protected, still trying to make sure that women are on the first fired and the last rehired, and it really created, I think, clarity for us. And it combines of a moment of incredible right-wing oppression throughout the country. My organization was founded just after Roe v. Wade was decided. So imagine me sitting in my role when it is overturned. As we speak, 26 states have or are considering outlawing abortion completely or partially. We are seeing gerrymandering in dozens of states that are weakening your votes. That's remapping voting districts so that progressive values don't win. And so what I would say is, don't agonize, organize, because from that oppression, seeds are growing, and I've seen it here in California when we build community power across our different issues, when we stand united and not divided. And happy to share a little bit more about how you all can get involved with the current work that's happening at the city, at the regional, at the state, at the national level, building power for what all of us believe in. So that's a quick 2-minute landscape of the past 50 years.
Great. And so beautifully put, as only Noreen can do, to succinctly say, and this is what we need to do moving forward, because we know there's not a lot of time to waste when it comes to the things that we need to be doing. And next, I'm going to ask Olga Talamante to talk a little bit about being civically engaged. Why is it ever more important at this point in time, especially for the next generation?
So I think I heard Kimberly Ellis say, you have some homework to do. We all have homework to do. And I think you can start here, especially to the question of civically engaged, especially for the younger generations. There's a lot here already in terms of who you can connect with, who you can talk to, who you can form your pod. Remember, we had the pandemic pods. Those are the people that you were safe with. Well, go on and form your pods that you are safe with, that you're gonna work with. Because, again, for the younger generations, this is your world. This is your world. You live in it. So it's up to you to protect it, to protect those that are vulnerable around you. The work that I have done with Chicana Latina Foundation, I know we have the executive director here, Adriana Ayala, and we have many students here. So that work began also 50 years ago. I think there was something in the water about 50 years ago, because women's organizations that have lasted this long.
Yeah.
And it started with these 3 Chicanas at UC Berkeley saying, there aren't that many of us around here. How we're going to support each other. So they started Chicana Latina Foundation, still going strong, still providing the mentorship, the leadership training to have the social change warriors of the present and of the future. Individual action, I would say, has so much power, and sometimes we don't know, but it can save lives. And I'll just share a little bit of my story and how my life was saved because of individual actions. I was a political prisoner in Argentina after having been in the Chicano movement and traveling because of, I was a Latin American studies major, and so you go to Latin America to learn the reality there. And then you also start learning about the role of our own US government in the politics of our countries of origin, and why people leave, and why people are under repressive regimes. I was there in the 70s. I was a political prisoner for 16 months, and the only reason I was released, I'm a farm worker from Gilroy. You know, what would the State Department care about this troublemaker that worked with Cesar Chavez and with the United Farm Workers Union? But because people took individual action and wrote a letter, signed a petition, made a phone call, that's exactly what saved my life. Individual action forms a collective action that then forms the collective force. I was sitting in the prison, in fact, just about 48 years ago, because it was in March of '76. And the military comes in and they say, who's the Olga Talamante woman? You know, I kind of thought about not saying anything. I figured, well, they're gonna find out. So yeah, okay, it's me. And the military guy said, oh, so you're the one that Kissinger wants out. Why would Kissinger, was a war criminal, you know, in terms of all the chaos and wars that he created, but why would he be asking for this farm worker Chicana in 6,000 miles away? Because the collective action and the individual actions that people took from the farm worker towns, from Mecha, from the biggest supporters that our family had was from the Black Caucus in DC. Barbara Jordan, Shirley Sissom, Ron Dellums. And the staff of Ron Dellums was Barbara Lee. Yeah. And she has everyththing to do with me being here. I know that there's an intersection, question that you're coming along. Well, this is the intersection. The intersection is who we are, who connects with us, who understands our struggles, how we understand each other, and we embody our struggles ourselves as farm worker, as woman, as lesbian, and as a social political activist to share this world with these amazing women. You're young, get started now. Do it now. Do it now. This is just like, see where you're gonna move the needle, see who you're gonna form your pod with, and see how you will be the one to stop that dangerous man from getting into office again.
All right now. All right.
That's why.
Olga,
Yeah.
that is such a powerful story, but it also talks about how we don't work in silos, from the legislation with Noreen to the activism, and let us really highlight the importance of Black women in the electorate. BWAPA is an amazing organization. Because they're like the beacon of where we need to be voting, honestly. And Desi, The Honorable Desi Woods, you know, you have been such a beacon with BOAPA. I've known you a long time. I can call her and say, hey, we're doing this. Immediate activation of what we need to do, because we know we're on the same page. And I think the beauty of all of us is also that we all work together. It's like I said, not in silos. And Desi, please share with us the important work of BOAPA and how we can also be part of that, because I know that is Hope, the organization. We partner with BOAPA as Latinas.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Elma. Appreciate you. And good morning, leaders. Good morning. My goodness. When I woke up this morning, my goddaughter got me up at 5 o'clock because I decided to stay across the bed. I thought, oh my God, who does this every day? That's getting up and crossing this daggone bridge. It's been years since I've done that. First, let me say to your phenomenal mayor, I understand she was here later, a shout out, I don't know if she's still here, but let's give her a round of applause to leadership, women leadership, black women leadership. I want to also thank Kimberly Ellis, who invited us all here to share out. Thank you, Kimberly, and your wonderful team of people, your staff, we appreciate you. And to these phenomenal sisters up here, Olga and Noreen, thank you so much for all that you have been doing. Thank you for asking me that question. I want to get to BOAPA, but let me tell you a little bit about my story, my history, my getting to become engaged and involved in a movement that has been part of my whole life. I'm 82 years old. How many are 80? Any got any more 80, over 80s out there?
Close.
82, close, but not there. You guys, all the youngsters though. And all of my life, for the over 60-something years, I have been directed and had a passion for service, which actually started with my parents. I mean, they were the kind of people that said, as some of others of you have certainly shared, that when there are issues in this world, and there are clearly so many problems and issues, and certainly if you were born black in America and a black woman on top of that, a Hispanic woman, a Latino woman, you have problems. We had issues. We came here. We didn't ask for them. We were brought here and given those problems. And so when you have them, the lesson that I was taught years ago is that you can't just sit back and complain about it. You got to get up and do something about it. And you don't count on somebody else to do your work. That should be freeing you. Can I get some amens out here in the corner?
Amen.
You've got to do the work yourself. And so years ago, been active since, like I said, I was in high school. I joined an organization called SNCC. How many of you folks understand SNCC? Back in the day, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And I was in my young 20s, and I was here in the Bay Area doing a work with a Black Conference Planning Committee. Some of you don't know these terms, BCPC. I'm trying to give you some lessons in history that this didn't start last week or last month. We came together to talk about issues that were important to our communities, the injustices that were existing. And we knew that we had to bring a collaboration of folks together like Ron Dellums and Barbara Lee and others to make some things happen, to make, what do you guys call it, shift happen.
Shift happens.
Did I say that right? I didn't want to mispronounce it. But, you know, at my age, I can do that, and you all would forgive me, right? So you see, so the need was movement. So I joined SNCC. I had the opportunity working in some of these other organizations to have the occasion to meet, at that time, Stokely Carmichael, who, as you all know, later became Kwame Ture. And he said, we need people to come back to the headquarters in Atlanta to help work where we're coordinating national movement. And so a good friend of mine and I, and Benny, we were moved by this. Here we were, young activists. So we just raised our little money, gave up everything we had, the little money that we had at the time, young professionals, begged our parents for money, and we took off on a journey. We first started traveling around the world, including Africa and the Caribbean islands. We wanted to see how other black people lived in other regions of the country. And then we ended up in Atlanta to work for SNCC. What a phenomenal experience to meet people, young people who had been to college, and mostly at that point from the East Coast, from the traditional black colleges and universities, from Howard and all of those places that came out to say, we're going to give up our time, our money, and our resources as young professionals to help the movement. So that's kind of where I got my beginnings. That's where I got my, my energy to say, if others can do this, I can do this too. So I came back to the Bay Area and was fortunate enough to meet some other very powerful Black women who said, as we looked around and there were no Black women elected in almost any of the so-called progressive cities in California. How is that? How is that if you live in San Francisco or Berkeley or Oakland and there are no Black women representing you on school boards and city councils and state legislature? Are you all hearing me?
Yeah.
How is that? So 12 of us, and I am blessed to say that as of just actually 2 weeks ago, I'm one of 2 that are left out of the 12 founding members of BWOPA. Belva Davis Moore, who many of you may know, is the other sister, and myself. We just lost our 3rd member, like I said, a couple of weeks ago, Alfreda Abbott. But among some of these founding members, the charter members, were dynamic people that certainly those of you in San Francisco should know. Ella Hill Hutch. Do you all know that name? Doris Ward, do you know that name? Willie B. Kennedy, do you know that name? These are the shoulders that Kamala Harris and Barbara Lee stand on. Do you understand that? Because when we were there and we formed this organization to say, we will unapologetically work to make sure that Black women have a seat at the tables. We did not have a seat or voice. And when we speak for all of you. Do you understand that? We speak for all of you, no matter what your color or nationality. We form coalitions and we form collaborations with the women at this table and their organizations. And we make sure that shift happens. That we want to make sure that we're looking at, when you talk about the injustices, tell me how many of you have celebrated Black Maternal Health Week this week? I don't care what color you are. How many of you understand this has been Black maternal health care? Raise your hand. Don't talk. I'm not talking to the wall. Now, why isn't that 70, 80, 90% of you didn't raise your hand?
That's right.
Because if you're progressive, if you understand the dynamics that Black women are dying at childbirth at a rate higher than some of the we call third world countries, do you understand that? That Black women are losing babies in Alameda County, in Fresno County, in Los Angeles, at 60 and 70% the rate of white women. Do you understand? Is that something we should be living with? No. Is that something we should be comfortable with? No. Who's in the prisons in our state of California, the most progressive state in the nation? Who's in the prisons? What are the percentages of people in those prisons? Who are they? Who do they look like? Do they reflect you? Are we concerned about that? So when we talk about the injustices in reproductive systems, let's look at the Supreme Court and the rights that they're taking away from us. Are you all doing anything about that? But right here in your backyard, there are problems. So when people like Olga and Noreen say, there are some things that you can do today, one by one, take on an issue, find a fight, but get involved in your own backyards. I'm going to say one more thing. I'm going to shut up, I promise.
No.
For a minute. But BWOPA. Oh my God, I almost forgot the most important thing. So let me back up to BWOPA. Coming out from the civil rights struggle, coming here, we realized that there were no women there. So we decided to form this organization called Black Women Organize for Political Action. That's what BWOPA affectionately stands for. And we are the oldest such organization of its kind in the state of California. 56 years ago, we brought 12 women together. And we brought these women together to primarily, at that time, help Ron Dellums get elected to Congress to become the first progressive Black man in Congress. And can you imagine way back then in the day, raising $76,000 for a Black candidate? Black women did that to help send Ron to Congress. Come on. Nowadays, when you have fundraisers, and we charge $500 a pop to get into a chicken dinner, we were selling chicken dinners back there to get just $100 if you pay that, and we're lucky if we got 25. But it was Black women who got on the telephones and walked the precincts and did the knocking on the doors. That's why we did it, because we wanted to see a reflection in the change of the policies that were unjust to us and our children and our families. So I I'm so proud. Matter of fact, let me give a shout out. I see some Bawapa sisters in the house. I can't see you all. You know I'm half blind. I can't hear. But wave your hand or stand up, even if you haven't paid your dues lately. You know, we're going to collect your dues later on. You know, yeah, we're going to wait. There they are. These are our leadership and stuff out here.
That's good.
But some of you probably in this audience never even heard of Bawapa. And you're women leaders. I don't care what nationality you are. We should be collaborating. We should know who's at the table. We should know who is doing what. We have chapters all over the state of California. Kamala Harris is a lifetime member. Come on, shout out Vice President.
Yeah.
Right. Barbara Lee is a lifetime member. Shout out Maxie Water, Auntie Max is a lifetime member. These are women we helped to place there when some of you weren't there. And I'm going to remind you of one more thing, I'm a Baptist preacher, my last close. When Hillary was running for president, I want you to remember that black women represent the highest voting population percentage-wise in this nation. Did you hear me? Yeah. Black women, who are the backbone of the Democratic Party and the democracy in our country, outraised and outvoted any other population of people, but yet we're still the least represented across the board. So when we talk progress and we talk about collaborations, sometimes we have to remember that when there's an opportunity to step forward and step back, look who's missing at the table. Mm-hmm. Look who's missing. And sometimes you might have to make a sacrifice and say, I won't do this because there's not a black woman or will not be in the United States Senate, hear me, out of the history of our lives. There's not going to be not one after LaThun, say her name? LaThanza Lee, so when she was appointed. There's only been 2 in the history. Is that the diversity we want to represent us in this country? Mm. I mean, out of all of those folks, there are 2 black women in the history that have served and none that will be there after that. Why is that? If we are doing the job out here that we're supposed to be doing and looking for fair and just representation. That's what Bawapa's about. That's what we try to do. And I thank you. I'm so proud to have been one of the founding members. I'm so proud that they have allowed me to serve as their state president for all these many years. I'm about to give that seat up, so you all get ready. You know, we know that because my energy is not quite like it used to be, but I'm hanging in there. So thank you all very much and appreciate
you
that.
You have amazing energy. As I said, we probably have about 3 to 4 minutes
oh my God.
Impart all this amazing knowledge, but we will be around for questions afterwards. And as we conclude the panel, I think one of the things, if we briefly could just start with Noreen about, you know, what are 1 or 2 things people can do, and what has been a big lesson, a great takeaway from the work?
Okay, 3 minutes, so I get a minute. There's something you can do right now. The Stronger California Advocates Network has, it's its 10th year. Like I said, we've gotten 50 bills passed, billions of dollars into the budgets to support our communities and families. You can get involved right now by joining our action team, equalrights.org. Join the action team. If you join today, I'll know it's you, and I'll make sure it's directed towards this policy work. We have another slate of great policy work, and this is important you will see in action how this intersection, this movement building, it's an agenda about addressing poverty and childcare and criminal injustice and working families and workplace injustice and fair pay. And what we found is when we build power, when we reject, and this goes to what I've learned, I'm doing it quick, this is not a zero-sum game. There is a myth of scarcity in this country. Mm-hmm. It is a myth. And we have to stop leading with what we think we can get and lead with the vision of what we all need and demand it simultaneously, demand it now. Because if people are not in with that agenda right now, they're not for women, they're not for non-binary people, they're not for our LGBTQ community, they are not for racial justice. And we found that when we stood strong, we want it all and we want it right now, acceleration happened. And stand with allies and unlikely allies, and it really happens. So this is a very urgent, constitutional, fundamental civil rights. Our bodily autonomy is on the line, but we can build power. I feel it in this room, and I feel it on this panel, and I feel it out there on the streets.
All right.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right. All right.
The clock is ticking.
1 minute. 1 minute. One of the things that I've been working on, and I'm sharing this so that you find your passion and you find what your heart is moved to, is continuing to reunify the children that were separated at the border 4 years ago. That's the person that we have to stop because he implemented that policy, the zero tolerance policy. So you have to find in your heart, what is it that you're going to do, who you're going to work with, who you're going to center those that are most affected by the issues. You have to remember that. And if you're an ally, be a good ally. And like Desi said, sometimes you got to step back. Make sure that the voices and the presence of those most affected are at the center of the message, the center of activism. If that's you, bless your heart, go for it. If it's not you, then make sure that the people that are affected are leading. And it's one of those things like, okay, how are we going to get the kids separated? Well, there's a task force that President Biden set up 4 years ago, and we have been dogging them forever and ever and ever. So if you want to get involved in that kind of campaign, you can definitely talk with me, Caravan for the Children. I'm just giving you, find your heart. I have to say, the work that ERA does is just magnificent. You have the Mera right here. Let's do it. Talk with her. You have Chicana Latina Foundation working with the social justice Latinx, that are leading the way in the environment. They're leading the way in their schools in terms of immigration reform. They're leading the way in terms of women's rights. So you have the resources here. You have Ignite. And you also have, of course, the Commission on the Status of Women. I think Kimberly Ellis is like our Dawn Staley.
Woo!
I mean, so let her coach us, let her lead the way, and let's lift up these organizations that are here. Now, if you accept honorary membership in WAPA.
Absolutely. Where's your lifetime membership?
All right. Okay, you heard it here. So no, fantastic work also. You should have many members from today that should sign up to WAPA. So just great to be here with both of you, and thank you.
And Desi, I think we never run out of time for Desi. So
I'm doing real quickly. 4 words I want to give you, and we're so much in sync, Olga. I would say to you, what's next? First of all, you find your commitment. You find something you're committed to, you got to do it. Have a passion, be compassionate. Have a strong passion for what you believe in, and I know all you do. But when you take that, then do organization. Organize, you got to organize around that effort because it just doesn't happen. And the next thing is that you take action. You can't sit on your Rumpty Dumpties like we are. You got to get up, you got to take action, bring people with you, inspire others. And I want you to end up saying with me, I'm going to leave here and take action. 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 Yes.
Action.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Thank you all.
on that note, I want to thank our panelists. I want to thank you for, hopefully you have learned a lot in what marching orders, what we need to do, because we can't sit this one out. We can never sit on the sidelines. So thank you again, Noreen, Olga, Desi, amazing women in la lucha, in the struggle, and thank all of you for being here and investing your time in what you need to do to make sure that we all move forward. Thank you so much.
Yeah, applause for you.